talk about the vision thing, and Barkley went to the wrong corner at the end of round one. They're both trimmed in black and red all the way down.
All right. Okay, hands up.
Okay, let's take a look at that clean right hand, and there you saw the mouthpiece flying outside of the ring. Once more, with feeling. Measuring his opponent, very cool inside, very impressive, Toney. He is fighting up and surpassing the level of his opponent so far.
You know, you only got a minute to rest. Why would they stuff his nose with all that stuff? Can he take a second wind? Can he rest himself? No. That's not a smart idea.
Well, they must be worried about the blood flow. Maybe that nose is broken, George, and that's why it's bleeding so profusely.
You work with Q-tips, even a bigger Q-tips, but you don't stick that much stuff up when the guy's supposed to be resting in the corner.
Good point. Another right cross after a right uppercut. Toney with target practice now inside against Barkley's head. Look at the fast hands. This is brilliant stuff from James Toney.
If Toney would step around to the other side of the ring, he can see the vision problem that Barkley is having and wouldn't let him get close, because he's got to get close to feel where he is. He's punching by feel now. He just doesn't see what he's doing. A low blow, Toney.
Well, this has been Iran's method for years. Lean in, shoulder the opponent, get your body on him, and then pound away at close quarters.
And he's thrown a lot of punches to Toney's hip, below the belt in that fashion. This is not what Toney needs to be taking at this point.
Chopping right hand by Barkley missed. Toney spins away and shows off his hand speed and combinations again. James Toney piling up points early against Iran Barkley.
Barkley has been in this amount of trouble before, so you just can't just get overconfident with him. He can still land that telling blow, have you on the floor.
Yeah, when he knocked out Tommy Hearns several years back, it was a fight in which he had been thoroughly dominated all along and was bleeding badly. But he can launch one.
There you go, there you go.
Now Toney is starting to land shots to the side now. It's going to help this young fighter as the fight goes on.
Taking a page out of Barkley's book, saying to himself, well, if we're going to stand here shoulder to shoulder, I may as well do the same thing Iran does and whack away at the liver.
Barkley is starting to push him into the corners now.
No low blow warnings from Richard Steele. Barkley has begun to land several to the hip area of James Toney.
That's right.
Chopping rights inside by Toney. 3 of them landed. And Richard Steele wants Barkley to come to his corner so that his glove can be retaped.
This helps Toney because he's taking a well-earned breather here. He should be sucking in as much oxygen as he can right now, not just stand there.
But Toney has shown so far that his claim that he could be more active at 168 than he was at 160 is true.
Toney's connecting nearly half of his punches in this round, 18 of 43 so far. Barkley didn't get a chance to dab at the blood streaming from his nose while he got that glove rewrapped. Toney with the jab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of them. Barkley jabs back. Toney knocks the mouthpiece out again, this time with a short left hook. Well, that's Iran. He loves to rumble. At the time at which, or at the age, I should say, at which Toney was playing high school football, Iran was in a life and death street gang in the Bronx named the Black Spades.
Pull it back.
The thing about being a fighter, you got no gang. You got to do it all by yourself.
Toney with another splendid right in there.
Toney is real effective when Barkley throws that hook. He's getting underneath it. Takes a lot of, and it discourages a fighter when you go underneath his left hook.
Barkley chases Toney to land one relatively light left hook. And starts punching away to the hip joint again.
That can really hurt a young fighter because he'll let you hit him not knowing what you're doing to him.
Right, step back, step back. Come on, let's go.
Well, elaborate on that, George, because to the average guy, it might not look as though those punches mean anything.
Yeah, you go to your corner and you can barely sit down on your stool because your hip is sore and you don't know what's going on.
Come on, let's work.
Because you're not hurt on top, you're not suspicious. This is a job for a referee now.
Probably too many referees let guys get away with those punches to the
Richard
hip.
Steele is looking up high and he hasn't glanced down yet.
He's looking for
He said
headbutts.
once, keep him up. He's only said it once.
Yeah, and he's watching for headbutts, which is another frequent occurrence in Barkley's fights because of his style.
He's admonished once to keep him up, but that's not enough. He should pull this guy off and say, we're not going to have it.
Double right inside by Toney. Bang, bang. Saw the blood fly from Barkley's head.
The thing about Toney, he weighed in at 168, but by dinner time that day, he was back up to 173. You can believe it. You don't want a guy that big leaning on you.
Let's work.
Well, I'm sure both of them weighed 168 by the time they came in here tonight.
No, I mean,
Yeah, I know you
Barkley
mean Iran.
was up. Iran Barkley must have went back up to 173 or 175 because you can't have that big man leaning on you. The same left hook that dropped Tommy Hearns, Barkley is starting to find range for.
Your hands are free. Work. There you go.
Now, you're telling me, George, that despite the punch-by-punch domination
Come on,
we've
your hands
seen
straight, let's
early
work.
from James
Watch
Toney,
your head.
Barkley is getting enough here and there to maybe set something up for later on.
That's right. Those body punches is helping him. He's not skillful. He's not known to win fights on points anyway. So why not just keep hitting on the punch, catch this guy leaning, and grab him.
Toney walks away after once again landing a flurry inside. Blood streaming
Watch
from
your
Barkley's nose, and Iran, the warrior, continues to chase James to the ropes.
It's the old saying, you don't pull a switchblade on an elephant. And sometimes those good shots may look like they hurt, but this big man.
When we saw Barkley spit blood there, you got the impression that he's probably swallowing a good deal of it during the rounds. How much will that bother him?
I do believe, but this guy's accustomed to being in this kind of trouble. He probably gets it in the gym, so he's not out of tune with it. He doesn't mind right now.
Does he notice it?
Oh, he doesn't even care. His corner told him when Toney rolled to go underneath. He keeps going on top.
Toney with magnificent hand speed. You won't often see that kind of flurry at 168 pounds. Although now, of course, Michael Nunn has a 168-pound championship.
Come on, let's work.
Yes, but, you know, somebody with Barkley's mentality thinks, I've been hit all those punches, now I got him where I want him.
Yep.
That's just the way a fighter like Barkley thinks.
He freely acknowledged yesterday that he would never expect to win a fight like this on points. He's here to try to score a knockout. So losing rounds doesn't much bother Iran Barkley.
And as far as I'm concerned, this guy, Toney, should sit around and coast for a round now, regroup, suck up his energy, and go for the 7th, and go for the 8th, 9th, and 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Well, at what point, if you're in Toney's corner, do you tell your man to try to stay away from some of these inside confrontations and get a little bit farther away?
I think that Toney is real skillful. He knows the coast. I don't think his corner is even aware of the need to coach with such a big guy like this.
Let's work.
The corners never had him in with a guy this big in a fight of this stature. But you got to coast that sometimes. You're not going to get a knockout like that. Win the fight.
Barkley sticking to his game plan with dogged determination. Keeps his head on Toney's shoulder, leans his body in on him.
Watch his shoulder.
And George, you've referred several times as Toney lands 2 more uppercuts in there and stuns Iran Barkley. Stuns Barkley with a minute to go in round 6.
But this is not the kind of fight he wanted the 6th round. This is the round he should have been coasting. Not to his advantage to mix it up with him now.
And Barkley coming back, and I was about to say, you've referred several times to Iran leaning on James. It's going to help to tire Toney out, right?
That's right. Barkley has got to be winning somewhere near 175 pounds. That big head on your chest like that, don't push him. It's going to wear you out.
And as he leans on James, he's pushing his legs down on the canvas all the time.
So he's following somebody's plan.
There's a left hook that landed for Barkley. Larry?
Well, I think punches wear you out also, George. and most of the good ones are being landed by Toney.
They just don't wear the big guys out like they do the smaller guys. Because sometimes you're hitting them good, and they just accustomed to being hit harder.
Toney finished the round with a left to the neck and 2 solid rights to Barkley's chin. And Iran Barkley looks a little weary midway through this World Championship bout.
You don't like that. You got to keep doubling the hook out, man. You got to keep doubling the hook. Make them fight, baby. Hands up and make them fight. All right, baby. That's all you got to do. Keep them hands up and just go right to him, Sam. Make them fight. Double that left hook up. Just double it up. He's turning that way. You got to double it up. Let's go. Here we go, baby. Open up.
Watch Toney in close.
Take your time.
He's been very, very clever. He's just 24 years old. Didn't start really boxing until he was out of high school. And he has a really good athlete's feel for what's going on in the ring. There's some kind of sensitivity to the movements of his opponent and what he can do that is the mark of what I would call a natural athlete.
Good point, Larry. Almost magical the way he can bob under Barkley's head, slide to the side, and then come up with the uppercut at just the right moment. Well, in all of these punch-stat numbers that you're going to see in the closing rounds, you are looking at a statistical mismatch.
Don't hold it.
We're looking at a mismatch in the fight right now. Although it could turn around, what we know of what has happened, it is a mismatch.
It's been all James Toney. But Barkley is hoping that in the war of attrition, things will begin to go his way later on.
Starting to agree with Larry now. Punches take things out of you, too.
Remember, I said at the start of the fight that the second half of the fight could be Barkley's unless Toney did some serious damage. And Barkley does look like he's slowing up a little bit here.
Toney, for the first time, jabbed to the body. And that's hard to see a young fella do when the fight gets in beyond 6th round.
You can see that Barkley's left eye is badly swollen. His vision probably compromised, but some would say, well, that vision was already badly compromised.
That Barkley's got one big left arm. That thing turns into a hook and catch you sleeping. You're going to wake up in your dressing room.
Punch and get out. Punch and get out.
Punch and get out, says Steele. He still hasn't warned Barkley for the low blows, and they are still coming with some frequency.
Barkley's from that school. It's not how you play the game. It's winning it counts.
Work inside and get out. Pull your arms back.
Sonny Liston said that.
That would be the old school, right?
Keep him up. Keep him up.
Sonny, of course, was in some of the most distinguished schools of hard knocks, George. Back before he was your idol.
Walks away and turns his head like nothing has happened.
And then rains that right hand over the top. Over and under. Brilliant display of technique by James Toney.
Barkley's left eye is completely starting to shut up now. He's better go on out there and look for a knockout because that jab can really just shut him down.
Well, for 7 rounds, it has unquestionably been James Toney's most impressive performance. And all the talk about how different he'd be at 168 pounds seems to be fulfilled with his performance here tonight.
Punch and get out. Punch and get out.
Now for the first time, Barkley is hanging on and holding. He's not throwing shots.
Now, Iran Barkley has slowed down, but he's still taking those uppercuts.
He's out of this picture yet.
Okay, we'll watch that, George. 7 rounds down, 5 rounds to go. Toney landed 72% of his punches in round number 7.
Punch and get out of there.
Barkley is starting now when he goes forward to hold a little bit because those uppercuts are starting to hurt.